Good morning and welcome finally to our Facebook Live this morning. I do apologise for the delay. It was just one of those mornings where nothing really happened in the right order. So I do apologise, but we are here now. So my name is Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. This week we're featuring the True Beauty stamp set and its coordinating products. So we've used the stamp set already the previous 2 days for some designs. Morning, Catherine. And this was yesterday's finished design, which was a card and a coordinating bookmark. So I added some ribbon, some of our in colour ribbon here to finish that off, and the card is stamped with that design on the inside. So that was using the stamp set. Today we're going to extend that out. Hi Karen, thanks for joining us. And we're going to be using some of the coordinating papers and dies. Now, one of the sheets of paper, and the paper is called Awash in Beauty. Awash in Beauty. It's on page 67 of your annual catalogue. And this sheet matches the coordinating stamps. So if you're not keen on stamping or you don't have time, you could use this sheet, and you get 2 of these 12 by 12 sheets in your pack when you buy the pack of papers. Hi Katie. And you could fussy cut these out, but there are dies that cut out all of these elements. So, and these dies are the same ones that cut the flowers. So basically all you need to do is place dies on those elements that you want to cut out, like so, and it cuts out the large leaves and the small leaves and the rows. You might need to turn the dies around to get the best fit. There are 2 as well for this little flower here, and there are also 2 extra dies that cut out some more foliage. I haven't used those yet. That's maybe a job for tomorrow. So what I've done already is cut out some of these. There's the set of 2 leaves, and this was the reason I was talking about, although I've cut the leaf stamp in half, so I've ended up with 2 single leaves. I've left them so I can put them back together so that they will still fit the die. And obviously you could cut this up like here and cut that into 2 if you wanted to. Entirely up to you. So I've got ahead and cut some out of this sheet already, and the way that I do that is I cut it into smaller components and then put it on the die cutting machine. You can see here what I've done with this one. So I've just picked out the ones that I want and place the dies on top and run them through the machine all together. Sometimes you get these ones are actually very well spaced, so that you can potentially cut that one and that one together because there's a little bit of space between them. But there may be occasions where you need to, just trim it and put it through twice, for example. But the papers are really pretty right the way through. I'll show all of those in detail maybe tomorrow. And the other die that comes with the set is this one here. Hi, Kerry. Good evening to you. And it cuts this beautiful lattice piece out. If I just pop it onto a piece of dark card like so, beautiful lattice, and I literally just put it up and back through the machine, so I did go through twice, and it literally everything just literally fell out. really beautiful. And so what I'm going to do is use that as part of my backing for my card. So I've picked up the colours that coordinate with this, which is, I want to say petal pink, but it's blushing bride. And I'm going to stick this lattice down. Now you will see that I have an area at the top and the bottom, and that's because the lattice design and the larger designs from Stampin' Up are sized to fit an American size card, which is 1/4 inch wider than ours and slightly shorter. So it will fit on a standard A6 card, which is what I've got here. Obviously there's not much to play with, so there's two things that you could do. You could leave it as is, you could move it to the top, for example, like so, and cut off the bottom so that you have a complete card. The other thing you could do is cut out a portion of this to make it look like it was a trellis, you know, an old trellis or part of a trellis. So I can't say if I can do that today. I'm maybe going to leave that for today, but do some more work with it maybe tomorrow and maybe Friday, because I think there's so many things you can do with this. This would look lovely gold on white for a wedding card, or silver on white. I think there's just so many things that you can do with that design. And I also think you could cut this out in gold and use it with more male orientated colours, and use that as the backing for a mail card. And as I scraped the pieces away, I also thought this would, if you like paper piecing, you could cut this out in 2 or 3 colours and then fill in with different details, because all of these main pieces are the same size. These ones here are the same, and the ones down the side are the same, and top and bottom. So it would be relatively easy to infill with colours. So I think I'm going to challenge myself. I might regret saying this. I think I'm going to challenge myself to do just that. Whether I'd cover the whole thing with colour panels, I don't know. Okay, so let's stick this down. So all I'm going to do for our card today is attach this to the base and then layer up some of our flowers and stalks here up on the left hand side. Like so, and then add the flowers in, and then just pop a sentiment on. So I picked out the pinks for this one, but you could really do it with any combination. And obviously you could also stamp your own colour combination and die cut those. So there's so many things you can do with this. Okay, so let's stick this down. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to stick it down and cut the bottom so that it fits exactly. Now you could use the our sticky sheet for this because there's quite fine details. So let's find a glue that has some in. It's our self-adhesive sheets, that's what I'm thinking of the word. Okay, but for this one I'm just going to pop a dot in some of the corners. You could also use our fine tip glue for this because it's got such a fine nozzle, but I'm just going to do the corners and a few of those intersections. I don't know why I'm sitting at a really weird angle to my table. Let's bring this up here so you might be able to see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Oh dear, it's only Wednesday. Tell me it's only Wednesday. Okay, so tiny dot of glue along the edges. I'm not necessarily doing every one. The main thing is the four corners and some of those intersections, like so. So I hope everybody is well. Obviously for us here, it is Wednesday morning. I know for Kerry it's Wednesday evening, but you might be watching at any time to suit you, day or night. So if you're watching at a different, completely different time, this is in the annual catalogue, which is 2022 to 2023. So these products will be available right the way through to the end of May 23. Okay, so that's going to be my base, and I'm going to trim this off. Sometimes I leave it with an odd border. It just depends on the design. Going to make sure I've got that relatively close. I'm not going to move it until I've gone through both layers, like so. And bear in mind it's sitting on top of the trellis as well, so just make sure you leave it on your trimmer until you've trimmed the excess off tidily. So there's our base card. Now the other thing you can do with this obviously is use this as a stencil. You could stencil through this in its own right if you wanted to, and then just wipe it off, or you could cut a stencil and use that. Obviously this has got a little bit of height to it, so I think you would get a different effect, but that might be another thing I have to do. I think maybe this needs to be a class in a box at some point. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is arrange some of our die cuts onto here. Let's move that out of the way. So let's move these dies out of the way as well. This would be lovely as a base for a Christmas card. I think if you did it red on green, green on red, gold on red, I think that would definitely work. And in fact, this this stamp you could also, oh, I can't get my words out today, almost make into a poinsettia if you did it in deep reds. Okay, so I'm just going to roughly lay this out. This one here, obviously didn't put it quite straight on the die for those. Like that. That one there. Got this one. Could put a bit of that in the background, but actually I think I'm going to keep it pink. But funnily enough, the back of that die cut might be useful as a background. And let's just see if I'm not sure I need anything else actually. I could cut that, but no, I think I'm going to tuck one of those in behind, and then I'm just going to add a simple banner either across here like so, or up at the top. If I've got some ribbon, I'm going to put some ribbon over here and then put that, but I think it works either way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is attach these two pieces first, and I'm just going to trim this a little bit. So if your die, if you haven't quite popped your die on centrally, you can just trim any of that white space off. I'm just going to do that for these. If it was on a white background, I wouldn't bother, because you wouldn't really see it. But I obviously just cut this just slightly too far on one side. So maybe I'll raise that up a little bit. So let's pop this on. So I'm going to put this one down with a little bit of glue, but I'm going to not put glue all the way over the leaf. So I like to only put glue in the middle so that you can lift those leaves up and tuck things behind. So just going to hold it for a minute, because obviously it's got to go over the lattice and stick onto here as well. Like that. Just going to trim that off. I definitely put this in lopsided, didn't I? I have to say I didn't use any tape to hold it, so I mean there is a little bit of a border around it anyway, but mine is definitely one-sided. Okay, let's have a look. Actually, I might put this larger flower here because I've got a bit more space, and then that one like that, and then a bit big. I might just cut some of those smaller ones, or another one like that. And let's just pop a little bit of this behind, maybe. No, it's too close a colour. Let me grab that piece. And I'm going to just pick out those two there. One, two. And I'll just die cut those. And there are two of those dies, which is very handy. So I'm going to cut those out in a second. Being slightly indecisive today. There we go. So this one. Like that. And then maybe I don't, yes, I'm going to pop these up on dimensionals, put these on first and then decide if I need that extra bit. And they're just here. So it's a bit of a duller morning this morning, but still quite warm. Let's put 3 on there. Like so. Now I could, if I wanted to as well, stamp that smaller flower. So if I didn't want that deep, it's actually Merry Merlot, that colour. If I didn't want that, I could stamp some extra flowers, but I'm going to stick with that because this is all taken from the papers. So let's just grab a small machine. It's perfect for small items. I like the large one because I was able to, obviously, to put all of those other dies through at the same time. But this is perfect for just small ones and having on your desk at the ready. Just move those out of the way. I can do it like that. Hopefully you'll see it. So there's my base plate and that layer. And then I've got the 2 little flowers. Hopefully you can see that. And then the die. And what I might do is put a little bit of tape on top. Oh, Kerry, I'm so sorry to hear that. What a nightmare. Saw it on the news. Goodness me. I hope you personally aren't too affected, but I appreciate when it's, you know, all around you. There's, you know, people you know and businesses and everything. Gosh. I think fire and floods are just those forces of nature which are, yeah, impossible to counteract, really. Right, that's those 2 there. Put those through. So I've got that one, and that one there. Right. Put the tape back up there. Put that on there so I don't lose it, because you know me. I have a world record of losing dies. Oh, 3rd time this year. Oh my goodness. That's just unfair, isn't it? And the problem is it's the insurance and everything else that gets affected, doesn't it? Okay, so I think what I might do is locate my scissors and cut these leaves into 2. Just going to trim that excess off there where I've miscut it, and just add those in, and a sentiment, and we're done. So using these this grid lattice has given me lots of different ideas as to what we could do. Should I fold it down there or up here? Like that, just gives it a little bit more substance, doesn't it? So just pop that on there. And that's going to go on with a dimensional. And same with that one. My goodness. That's really scary, isn't it, Kerry? What do we think? That do the job? I think it will. I could have reversed that actually and had the leaf on the top, but it will do. It is heartbreaking, isn't it? There we go. Let me pop my glasses on so I can see what you can see. There we go. So now I'm just going to add a sentiment to here, and it feels right to sort of pop it across there, doesn't it? And I'm wondering if the just because will fit. It does, just about. So I'm going to pick out this Merry Merlot for my sentiment colour, because obviously I need it relatively dark. So I'm just going to stamp this on the back first to see what it looks like. Try out the ink. See if it looks okay. Yep, that will work, won't it? Fits nicely. Just because. Great sentiment. There we go. That's going to go onto there. So I'm going to pop 3 on there just to support it. You could get away with 2, I think, if you space them sort of centrally. And then you could add, I tell you what would look nice if I'd done this in gold, as I could have added some gold thread behind. I'm just using the piece of the lattice there to centralize it. Okay, and there we go. So there's our finished card. Really pleased with that. So as I said, I've used the elements from the papers which I've die cut, but you could equally do your completely own colour scheme by stamping and die cutting, or fussy cutting if you wanted to. But lots of ideas with the trellis, so using it as a stencil, you could use it to paper piece different colours, all sorts of things. Could also add a little bit of bling in some of the dots. Oh, the brass butterflies, yes, they would look good. You could dot those around. There's all sorts of things you could do to finish that off. You could have a little bit of ribbon. As I say, you could put some thread just behind the sentiment. So lots of different things you could do with that. But I'm pleased with that result. So thank you for joining me. That's spot on half an hour. And what I will do is probably die cut the rest of these pieces from the sheet and then keep them in a bag, so if I need to put a card together I can literally just pull those out. So I hope you like that design. So True Beauty and Awash in Beauty is the True Beauty is the stamp set, Awash in Beauty is the name of the collection, and that collection consists of the stamps, the dies, the papers, and there are some coordinating gems as well. I don't think I purchased those. I don't know why. Perhaps they need to go on my next order. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to being back here tomorrow. So I'll be here tomorrow, Thursday, at 7 p.m. UK time. Appreciate that's not ideal for you, Kerry, but I know you'll watch on catch up when it's convenient. So thank you so much, everyone. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. And I hope you can keep crafting. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.